Well, if you are a Caitlin Clark fan, if you're an Indiana Fever fan, this is something you already know. However, for the haters out there, the old WNBA fandom, many of you call them the slows. For those fans, they're in complete denial. We've tried to tell people Caitlin Clark moves the needle.
The next team I play for, I want a bigger contract so I can buy a house and be homey and cozy. Sophie Cunningham dropped that bombshell live on her podcast, a statement that ripped through the Indiana Fever like a shockwave. This wasn't just a casual comment, it was a clear, unvarnished hint that one of the team's most vital unsung heroes is ready to walk away. The implications are staggering, not just for the Fever's roster, but for the franchise's entire future, especially for the superstar whose very presence has transformed the league. This isn't just about money, it's about the very foundation of what the Fever are trying to build around their generational talent, and if this departure becomes a reality, it promises to spark an absolute storm of frustration at the very top.
So Sophie Cunningham is one of the biggest names in the WNBA, and as well as that, she's also one of the best glue guys, role players in the entire league. Say we want about Sophie Cunningham, she shot 63% true shooting percentage, while being a well above average defender. I'm not going to say a great defender, but like well above average defender. She's one of the better defenders on the Fever, and she's somebody that originally usurped the one of honor as a starter. And then obviously
this unexpected declaration immediately raises alarms for anyone invested in the Indiana Fever's path to contention, and implicitly, for Caitlin Clark's future success. Losing Sophie Cunningham, a player known for her high-volume three-point shooting and invaluable glue guy role, creates a gaping hole that isn't easily filled. It directly impacts the crucial offensive spacing and defensive stability that Clark needs to operate effectively. Her potential exit signals a major setback, threatening to derail the carefully constructed synergy that the team desperately needs around its generational talent. This isn't a minor roster adjustment, it's a foundational tremor that could shake the entire competitive outlook.
We've tried to tell people Caitlin Clark moves the needle unlike anybody else in this league or everybody else in this league. It just sort of is what it is. Fans are coming to see one particular player, and along with that carries over the support to the entire team. Well, Forbes has released a rather very interesting insight report that tells you exactly how much the Indiana Fever's social media engagements are actually monetarily worth.
The stakes for Caitlin Clark couldn't be higher. She arrived to unprecedented fanfare, single-handedly redefining WNBA engagement and drawing millions of new eyes to the sport. The expectation is not just to compete, but to contend for championships. Losing a proven low-ego, high-impact player like Cunningham due to perceived financial mismanagement would be a bitter pill. It points to a potential failure in roster construction that directly impedes Clark's ability to win. One can only imagine the simmering frustration of a superstar whose incredible impact on the league isn't being matched by adequate support on the court, raising serious questions about the team's long-term vision.
The Indiana Fever are not going to keep Sophie Cunningham. It does sound like the Fever are not going to keep her. From her podcast, a lot of the time she'd been mentioning the Fever, and in the most recent podcast, she did not mention the Fever, and she said this.
And I think the next team I play for, I want a bigger contract, so then I can buy a house and be homey and cozy.
Fuck yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. That could be the Liberty. It could be New York City.
Sophie Cunningham's on-court value is undeniable and irreplaceable. She boasts an impressive 63% true shooting percentage, coupled with a well-able average defensive game that makes her one of the Fever's better perimeter defenders. Her ability to shoot 43% from three-point range at high-volume stretches defenses, creating critical space for drivers and cutters like Clark. She plays within the system, embodies a winner's mentality, and famously possesses an on-court ego as close to zero as as any professional athlete. These aren't just statistics, they are the hallmarks of a crucial role player who elevates everyone around her, making her departure even more impactful.
Well, Forbes has released a rather very interesting insight report that tells you exactly how much the Indiana Fever's social media engagements are actually monetarily worth, either on X or YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, whatever. I mean, all these posts have a monetary value to them based on engagement. Boy, their posts are worth a lot of money. They are worth a lot of money, and I can tell you right now, that's a little over 5 times higher than the next.
Beyond her crucial on-court contributions, Sophie Cunningham is also a major draw off the court. She consistently ranks among the most searched WNBA players, even securing lucrative sponsorships like Arby's. Her popularity contributes significantly to the team's overall brand and fan engagement, while Caitlin Clark is undoubtedly the primary driver of the Fever's staggering $55 million social media valuation, 5 times higher than the next WNBA team. Players like Sophie Cunningham amplify that reach. Losing such a marketable and beloved figure isn't just a roster hit, it's a blow to the Fever's broader appeal and their ability to capitalize on their newfound stardom
that they don't want to keep. Like, this is the dumbest thing I think I've seen a team do. Like, genuinely. They traded 4 years of Sanaya Rivers. And by the way, the Fever wouldn't have drafted Sanaya Rivers. The Fever would not have drafted Sanaya Rivers. The Fever are dumbasses. They would have drafted somebody else. But losing Sophie Cunningham for money reasons is not a smart thing to do. Like,
the potential loss of Cunningham casts a dark shadow on past management decisions. The Fever famously sacrificed the 8th overall pick in the draft, a pick used on promising talent Sanaya Rivers, specifically to acquire Cunningham. This move was made to bring in a seasoned, effective player to bolster the roster immediately, to potentially let that asset walk away after just 1 season, essentially making her a rental for such a high draft pick, is being labeled by critics as one of the dumbest things a team could do. The initial investment made sense for a winning strategy, but its potential unraveling signifies a catastrophic miscalculation.
They are worth a lot of money, and I can tell you right now, that's a little over 5 times higher than the next WNBA team. 5 times higher. Let's go down here. Just scroll down. The Indiana Fever's staggering $55 million social media evaluation speaks volumes. Now, before we get into this, let me just come over here and let me read this to you so you know exactly what we're looking at. After noticing the growing popularity of...
Critics are not holding back, slamming the Fever's management for what appears to be a monumental gaffe. Trading away 4 years of a cost-controlled draft pick for a player who just 1 season later seems on the verge of departure due to contract disputes is a baffling decision. This isn't merely about player retention, it's about prudent asset management and building a sustainable championship contender. The sentiment is clear, unless Sophie Cunningham is demanding a max contract, which is highly unlikely given her role. The Fever have made an unforgivable error, jeopardizing their entire long-term strategy and undermining the immediate competitive window.
An unpopular opinion, Sophie's better than Lexi. But it's close enough to fair enough Lexi's younger. But I'm like, Lexi's not worth a max either. Like, if you're stuck in a situation where you've got 2 wings that are not max contract players looking for max contracts, you have to pick one or the other, you're kind of screwed. Especially because you could have had a cost-controlled Sanaya Rivers for 4 years. At the same time, What are the odds that Steph White would have not developed Sanaya Rivers whatsoever and gave her bench splinters for the entire...
The core issue appears to be financial. Sophie Cunningham has clearly indicated her desire for a bigger contract, a reasonable request given her performance and value. However, the Fever face salary cap constraints and tough choices, especially as they look to build around Clark. This creates a challenging dilemma: how to retain essential role players without compromising future flexibility. If the Fever are unwilling or unable to meet Cunningham's market value, it signals a potentially alarming prioritization problem within the organization. This isn't just a player leaving, it's a clear message about how the team values its integral components.
CEO of STN Digital, the valuations of these franchises are increasing dramatically. The ratings on television are better than ever, and I think there's no better time to look at what's happening on social media. Using a model called, quote, social value metric, the study calculated the estimated pay media equivalent value created by organic posts, factoring in impressions, video views, engagements to benchmark what the same exposure would cost through advertising. So in other words, if you paid out...
Adding to the complexity is the internal comparison with Lexi Hall. While Lexi is younger and often seen as a developing wing, some analysts argue Sophie Cunningham is currently the superior player. Yet, if both are seeking substantial contracts, the Fever are in a precarious position. The unpopular opinion suggests Sophie offers more immediate impact, but the team might lean towards the younger Hull for future potential, even if neither is deemed max contract worthy. This internal tug-of-war, if mismanaged, could lead to losing the proven veteran without a clear, equally impactful replacement, further complicating the team's competitive outlook.
She's not, like, KK Timpson, I've watched her the entire year, and you could say, oh, you know, KK could have been, like, she should have been progressing much better if Steph White had played her more. Man, I'm watching her over in Europe. She's not getting better. She's not getting better. Like, she's cooking the bad teams and then looks lost against the good teams. She's not really improving, and that is concerning. That is concerning. And now you're at a stage where, like, you have to realistically keep, like, if you don't keep Sophie,
Further compounding the Fever's wing depth issues is the stagnant development of KK Timpson. Despite hopes for her progression, observers note that Timpson is not progressing at all, struggling against good teams in Europe and failing to show significant improvement. This lack of growth means the Fever cannot rely on her to seamlessly step into a larger role if Cunningham departs. Without Timpson evolving as expected, and potentially losing Cunningham, the Fever's wing rotation becomes critically thin, leaving Caitlin Clark with fewer reliable perimeter threats and defensive options, making an already tough situation even more dire.
Revealed the Indiana Fever led the league with an estimated $55.04 million in social value, 38.73 million engagements, 1.17 billion impressions during the 2025 season. The top 5 teams by social value were the Indiana Fever, Dallas Wings at 8.61 million. That was second, folks. You went from 55 million down to 8.61 million.
Sophie Cunningham's blend of shooting, defense, and selflessness makes her a truly irreplaceable player for the Fever. Her unique zero-ego approach means she embraces any role, making her the ultimate team-first player, a rare commodity in professional sports. Unless the Fever have someone like a Kayla McBride waiting in the wings, her specific contributions cannot be replicated. This isn't about finding another scorer, it's about finding a player who enhances everyone else without needing the spotlight. Her departure leaves a void far greater than just a statistical drop, impacting team chemistry and overall cohesion.
That will help, and I don't give a damn about this enforcer type shit. What I do give a damn about is the fact that she shoots 43% from 3. She shoots 43% from 3. And shoots it at a high volume is tough. plays within a role, plays within a system, and is a winner. Is a winner and has I'm not going to say zero ego because
The tone of Cunningham's podcast comments goes beyond mere speculation. It strongly suggests a prior conversation with the organization. It sounds like a player who has either been told directly that the team is not retaining her, or that they are unwilling to meet her contract demands for the upcoming season. This isn't a negotiating tactic, it's the lament of someone who anticipates a new professional chapter. Such a premature public declaration signals a significant breakdown in contract talks, or a clear organizational decision to move in a different direction, which sends a troubling message about how the Fever manage their vital assets.
Year-over-year increase. They increased engagements by 505%, impressions by 251%, and a social value by 344%. So good God, I don't know where they ranked prior, but they had that much growth and was still, basically $37 million behind the Indiana Fever in second place. Wow. And I wonder where that would be. Look, the Indiana Fever did not quit posting.
The consequences of this potential misstep ripple through the Fever's entire draft strategy. They invested heavily in acquiring Cunningham, giving up a valuable draft pick, under the assumption she would be a long-term piece. Now if she walks for nothing, they've effectively lost that pick without any sustained return. While WNBA teams sometimes devalue draft picks, the scale of this particular loss, sacrificing the 8th pick for what could be a single season of a key player, is an egregious waste of resources. This decision points to a concerning disregard for building a future-proof roster around their most valuable player.
They wanted DeWanna Bonner and they want to free up salary for DeWanna Bonner. But this is concerning because are they going to keep Natasha Howard? Are they going to get rid of Sophie Cunningham to keep a max contract for Natasha, the offense stops here, Howard? For me, that's just really, really concerning. And I'm worried. I'm really, really worried. Because by the sounds of things, this does absolutely sound like a take from a person who has been either knows or has been told they're gone.
A particularly troubling rumor suggests the Fever might be prioritizing a max contract for Natasha Howard over retaining Sophie Cunningham. This potential strategic choice is being met with widespread disbelief among basketball analysts. Howard, while a solid player, typically grinds the offense to a halt, whereas Cunningham actively facilitates ball movement and spacing. Prioritizing a player who disrupts offensive flow over one who seamlessly fits into a modern fast-paced system designed around Caitlin Clark goes against everything learned about winning basketball in the last 2 decades. It signifies a profound misunderstanding of team construction.
And it was surprising. I have to admit, I thought the Chicago Sky would be second because of Angel. I did. And she was 5th. That's interesting. So, Caitlin, Paige Beckers, Asia, but we're talking they're way behind. Way behind. In monetary value. God, the Chicago Sky was, Jesus, way back there.
This potential choice to prioritize Natasha Howard over Sophie Cunningham is deemed basketball blasphemy by many. Modern basketball, especially with a talent like Caitlin Clark, demands shooting, spacing, and versatile low-ego role players. Cunningham embodies this ethos, while Howard's playstyle is seen as less complementary, sacrificing one of the league's most valuable plug-and-play pieces. If she can be signed at a reasonable rate, not a max contract, for a player who fundamentally alters the offense in a less optimal way, is a decision that could haunt the Fever for years, hindering Clark's ability to truly unleash her game.
Which is against everything we know about the sport of basketball. Everything we have learned for 20 years about the sport of basketball will tell you that Sophie Cunningham is one of the most valuable players in the league if you can get her at the right money. And whatever half a max contract, whatever, not even half a max contract, whatever a Bridget Carlton's making. You got to match that. You got to match a Bridget Carlton. Like, in terms of value, there are maybe 45 more valuable players in the WNBA than Sophie Cunningham.
There's a growing fear that the Fever's past successes were more due to sheer luck than brilliant strategic planning, drafting Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, and the incredible fortune that Boston adjusted her game for Clark, along with Kelsey Mitchell's development as an off-ball cutter. These were all fortunate circumstances. Even the hardship players they signed didn't truly fit a run-and-gun offense. Now, with Sophie Cunningham's potential exit, concerns are mounting that this luck is running out, and without a coherent, intelligent strategy, the team's trajectory could quickly plummet, much to Clark's likely dismay. The summer outlook for the Indiana Fever is now riddled with anxiety. Analysts fear the team will recruit badly and make bullshit decisions with their remaining draft picks and free agency. The concern is that they are not actively building a proper cohesive roster that maximizes Caitlin Clark's generational talent. Instead, they might squander opportunities and alienate key players, leaving Clark in a situation where her extraordinary efforts aren't translating into team success due to organizational missteps. This isn't just about winning games, it's about validating the immense investment in their superstar. The shocking exit hint from Sophie Cunningham isn't just a player possibly leaving, it's a loud warning signal reverberating through the entire Indiana Fever organization. If they allow one of the league's most efficient, low-ego and impactful role players to walk away, it's a catastrophic failure in management, directly undermining the competitive window opened by Caitlin Clark. This move, or lack thereof, could lead to immense frustration for Clark, who deserves a properly constructed roster to chase championships. The true value of a player like Sophie Cunningham is immeasurable, and losing her for preventable reasons is an error that could forever alter the Fever's destiny.